Lawyers are making their final submissions for the 50 men co-accused of the mass rape of a woman who was unconscious and drugged by her husband. The trial of Dominique Pelicot, who's admitted his guilt, and the men he recruited online to rape and abuse his own wife, is nearing its legal climax. The prosecution's called for jail time of 4 to 18 years for the men of all walks of life who are aged from 26 to 74. The victim of these horrific attacks, Gisèle Pelicot, there she is, has waived her right to anonymity in order to highlight the horrors of the case and put on the front page the plight of women who suffer violence. Caris Garland's in Avignon for France 24.
Among them, fathers, husbands, a firefighter, a gardener and a nurse. We are now hearing the closing arguments of the lawyers of these 49 co-accused of Dominique Pelicot, with one more being tried in absentia. Most of these men have been charged with aggravated rape against Gisèle Pelicot, the main defendant's ex-wife. And while many of them say, no, she did not consent, many still deny the intention of raping her. So what then is their main line of defense? Well, one of these lawyers this Thursday said that her client had been manipulated by Dominique Pelicot, saying that yes, Gisèle Pelicot was a victim, but only of her then husband and him alone. She added that her client never would have gone to the Pelicot household had he known that Gisèle had been drugged. Now, this feeling of being manipulated has been echoed among several defendants. We spoke to one of them who said that he felt like he had been duped. He said that he was purely motivated by having sexual relations with Dominique Pelicot, though he did admit to facilitating the rape of Gisèle Pelicot by her then husband. He said, it's difficult to admit that I am a rapist, and he said, I am wrong to have not have alerted the authorities. He said that he felt a deep loneliness and fear. Prosecutors want him, for example, to go to jail for 10 years, and many defense lawyers are saying that these sentences would be disproportionate, especially in comparison to that of Dominique Pelicot, who prosecutors want to see go to jail for 20 years, the maximum penalty.
That was Caris Garland, our reporter at the trial, which of course is nearing its closing phases now, with the verdicts set to be announced, the defence wrapping up as the days go by. Let's bring in Camille Lextray from Solidarité, Femmes here in Paris for more on the case, but also on the issue, which is central to the case, about drugging somebody and then having sexual relations, raping them. It is a shocking case on so many levels, this, isn't it? On a wider scale, do you think it will change attitudes among the authorities into how they deal with such cases, someone who's been drugged and raped?
Well, yes, I think like the mentalities have been deeply shocked in France to discover that ordinary men can do such things. The associations, the NGOs that work against women violence, we know that for years, and we've been telling that for years. So there's been a change, of course, but if we are seeing, if we are looking at the politics, there is no really support of Gisèle Pelicot. No political people have made speeches to support Gisèle Pelicot. So we need to have more than just little policies, and we have to have a society that really supports the victims and go behind them to make their trial easier, and to assure them that the society is behind them and is not just looking at them.
Camille, there is a long-standing misogyny at the centre of sexual violence cases. And it's horrible to say, but, you know, there are some people in justice circles, men, who say women did something to provoke it. Now, that argument doesn't hold water at all. You don't provoke those kind of things. And certainly in Gisèle Pelicot's case, it's not possible. You're unconscious, you've been drugged. It's not possible to provoke anything. Do you feel that the government, in the changes it's trying to make, is at least beginning to take things seriously?
Yeah, there is changes, and we can only say that they are good changes. There are measures that have been announced by the Prime Minister that go in the right direction. It's not new measures, it's measures that we have been asking for. But it's always great when there is new measures, and we can only say that it's going in a great way. But the society, the rape culture is deeply rooted. And with Gisèle Pelicot, we have the example of the victim we can only believe, but we have to believe all the victims, and not only the ones that have videos and that have proof and that are in the situation where nothing can be said about them. The perfect victim is a problem. The perfect victim does not need to exist in order to listen to the victim. You don't need to be perfect to be considered as a victim. And we see in the measures that we really need to take account of all the victims, even those that don't have videos or that don't have physical proof, but to really have all those realities in mind when we do policies.
Indeed, you're right, Camille, because, you know, whatever your social standing, whether you're a clean living person or whether you indulge in things that perhaps society says aren't clean living, whether you are a sex worker, male, female, it doesn't matter. If you haven't given consent, then it's rape. That's basically the bottom line, isn't it? And that's how it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. And so nowadays in our law in France, the consent is not included. So what we could hear during this trial was that basically since the ex-husband gave the consent for Gisèle Pelicot, it was enough. And we really need to have education and to have this concept of consent in the law, so that we really highlight the fact that a woman does not belong to her husband. Her life, her body is her own, and she is able to will or not to will. If she is not able to do that, then there's no consent, then it's rape. It's as simple as that.
What you're saying, Camille, makes perfect sense. I think anybody who disagrees with you, I think, needs to sort of take a long, hard look at themselves and ask themselves why. Can I ask you, Camille, because we're coming towards the end of this interview, things like Rohypnol, slipped into drinks in order to make somebody drowsy, knock them out, and then abuse them. Those kind of things, the availability of drugs like that, this is all part of the problem, isn't it?
Well, when we look at
problem.
Numbers, yeah, when we look at numbers, first of all, chemical subject submission is just one of many weapons. And we see that it's basically drugs that you can buy at a pharmacy that is mainly used in the chemical subject submission. So there is this problem, but the main issue is education. And on the one hand, you have this huge subject about this trial and everybody is talking about that. But on the other hand, in France right now, there is a moral panic about education, about affection, relation, and sexual life for children. And there is a huge fight against this education. So the roots is really the education, how you educate people basically to have a healthy, a non-violent, respectful life and interactions, sexual interactions. And that's the huge subject, how prior to those violences you act against those misogynist roots, and how you manage to create a society where those ordinary men cannot rape anymore.
May your message go far and wide, Camille Lextray from Solidarité, Femmes. Completely agree with you. I'm supposed to